funding for advocacy, care, and research. There's no registration fee for the ALS United block, but those who raise at least $100 by August 21st will receive a 2024 ALS United block t-shirt. For information or to register, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com. The 23rd Annual Walk for Awareness will be held Saturday, October 12th inside the center at Salisbury Mall. The walk will be 2 laps around the mall, and T-shirts will be available for those who register and pay by Wednesday, September 4th. Day of registration will be available beginning at 9 a.m. The walk gets underway at 10:30. Proceeds benefit Women Supporting Women's mission to provide awareness, education, and support to those affected by breast cancer. For registration or information, go to the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Delawareans, it's time that we re-energize and unite. Our founding fathers penned "We the People," not just as an opening statement, but as a call to action from every generation. Today, it's our turn to embrace these powerful words. It's about getting involved and making our voices heard. Every one of us has a role to play. Our ideas, our passions, and our dreams, they matter. Join us in this movement. Learn more about the Convention of States at the community calendar under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
This is the Rehoboth Foodie. Join me from 2 to 4 every Saturday when I talk beach eats here at WGMD 92.7. You can also stream it live at WGMD.com. Either way, it's a feast for the ears.
This weather report is sponsored by Bell House Medical, your local leader in stair lift and barrier-free walk-in shower installations. See them at mastergrabbar.com.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Slight chance of thunderstorms this afternoon. Otherwise, cloudy skies with a few peaks of sun. Daytime highs approaching 86. Southerly winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Overcast tonight. Chance of thunderstorms. Lows dip down to about 71. Chance for storms tomorrow. High of 85. Cloudy skies expected. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently 76.
You're listening to Max Power here on 92.7 WGMD, WGMD.com, and the WGMD app, the Talk of Delmarva.
Good morning, Delmarva. My name is Max Power, bringing you in with a little Frank Zappa. That's Willie the Pimp, to my dear friend Willie. Thank you for calling earlier, Willie. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. And it is 11:50. Just got off the phone with Julianne Murray. Once again, she'll be on IndustryNewsOnline.com at 12:05-ish, somewhere right around that time. And she will be taking your questions. So give her a call, or you can just go online and type in your questions. You can be a producer. Yeah. We don't pay you, but you can be a producer. So 11:50. Got about 8 minutes left. So give me a call if you have any questions. I saw that Bill and Eric called earlier, but they hung up before I got to them. So I apologize for not getting to you, but give me a call if you had something to say. Pardon me. A little froggy there. But other than that, like I said, I didn't see a lot of the news this week because of my mom being in the hospital and nursing home and all that stuff. So trying to catch up with you. I'm looking through the headlines. But I did want to mention the thing about the breastfeeding I almost said social security lady, Secret Service lady. Oh, we got Bill. We'll talk to Bill first, then I'll go into my thought. Hey, Bill, what's going on?
Hey there. I was going to say I've been through some of the same situation you've been through. My poor father died just as I turned 18. Oof. And he left me with the that deathbed promise to take care of Mom. Yep. And I would have done it anyhow. I would do it anyhow. But my poor mom had such health issues that they thought she was going to die back in the 70s, and everything should be prepared for that. And I'll tell you what, she lived all the way up into the early 2000s.
Wow.
So that was a wonderful thing, and each and every day was a blessing, and I took it as such. But I mean, it's life is kind of rough, and I know you were talking about how some of the women and I got married to a young lady who apparently somehow had the conception because she gave birth that she had more experience than I did.
Okay,
so it was rather interesting in that perspective.
Well, she had more experience giving birth than you did. So,
yeah, well,
but
yeah,
other than that,
I can agree with that. Yes, I just meant with life.
Yeah,
and I just I was a little bit older. It was more of a traditional age difference, and so forth. With a couple years, older, and she literally thought she knew everything, and it just made it very difficult. But I guess the final nail in the coffin was when I was rear-ended at 65 miles an hour, and I was there and calling her to ask her for help, and she said, "I'm working." Click.
Oh God!
And
I think I dated her.
Did you date her?
Yeah. She sounds familiar.
Yeah. Well, that's what basically. I guess that was the final. I realized that somebody else told me at work. It was She didn't work at the company, but it was a different contracted company, and I should say she didn't work at the agency, but it was a subcontracted company where she was involved with. So I guess very bad decision, but you live and learn.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you calling back. I got Eric on the other line, so let me see if I can get to him. All right, thanks, Bill. Wonderful man, that Bill. I really enjoy talking to him. Eric, here we go. Eric, what's going on?
Hey, Max. Yeah, man, you did a real good job with your imagination there with Willie. I really liked that, the 3 songs there. That was pretty good, fast how you fired that right up.
I saw the sweet song, and I'm like, I got to play that. And I'm like, let's find 2 more. So I went for it.
Boy, you're something else. Anyway, you have a good day, brother. I thought that was really cool, man.
Thanks, Eric. Have a good one.
All right, hang in there, man.
I will. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. A lot of kind words. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a rough one. Oh, I'm so exhausted. But anyway, I enjoy talking to you guys every weekend. I really do. I try to make it every Saturday if I can. If something comes up, unfortunately I don't. But I only do that with the kidneys. Oh my goodness, the kidney stones in May. Yeah, I kind of missed that show, but I would have much rather have been here. Believe you me, I would have rather have been here. 2 days in the emergency room with kidney stones was not something I would want to do or wish on anybody. So anyway, 11:55-ish. It's almost 55 in about 5 seconds. So, and the weather is looking pretty, getting a little cloudy it looks like. I was going to say beautiful. I think it might even be raining. Let me just check this radar here. And I don't know. It just gave me the heat indexes. I don't care about the heat indexes. Goodness gracious. That's couple places around here it looks like it's raining, but there's a big one over in Maryland over by the bay, so we'll see, but it's still beautiful weather. I mean, it's 76 degrees in August. I mean, can't sneeze at that. I mean, so much for global warming, huh? I mean, climate change. Yeah, it's changing for lower. Jake says it's raining. Okay, thank you, Jake. And that's your weather from Jake. Raining. All right. Thank you, Jake. Surprised he listens to me. I feel pretty honored now. All right. But anywho, phone lines are still open, 302-945-9292. If you have something nice to say or you just want to be a pain in the craw, give me a call. Hey, that rhymes. I didn't even mean to do that. Huh. Interesting. But yeah, like I was going to say about the Secret Service is investigating report agent left Trump event to breastfeed. Hopefully it was a woman. You never know these days. In a statement shared with Newsweek on Thursday, Secret Service Chief of Communications Anthony Guglielmi, I'm not even going to attempt that name. All employees on the U.S. Secret Service are held to the highest standards. While there's no impact to the North Carolina event, the specifics of this incident are being examined. Given this is a personal matter, we are not in a position to comment for. Why even ask these people questions? They always say there's an investigation. We're going to do an investigation. We can't talk about it now. We're going to do an investigation. Oh, I'm not at liberty to say. Why even ask them? It's just a waste of time. But if that did happen, no, sorry, lady. she's one of those feminists. Take the baby to work day. I'm a Secret Service agent. But anyway, I got about 1 minute left. I want to thank everybody who's called and who's listened, and even you, Willie. We love you, man. We love Willie. Willie's a good man. Willie the Pimp. Can't believe I found that one. Oh my goodness, haven't thought about that one in a while. But anywho, let's sign out of that. 11:57 and 40 seconds. So I got about 1 minute exactly. So once again, I want to say thank you to everyone who's called, everyone that was listening, all the people on the flea market that called. I want to thank Walt for being out there at Trap Pond for the Watermelon and Crab Fest, or is it the Crab and Watermelon Fest? One or the other, for the Adult and Teen Challenge. So thank you, Walt. Every year we go out there, we can hardly get the mics working. I think this was one of the worst ones, though. So, but anyway, thanks for listening once again. I will be back next week, same time, same channel, and Julianne will be following me here right in 1 minute and 34 seconds, the news, and then Julianne will be on at 12:05 for Tipping the Scales of Justice. Dun, dun, dun. Justice, yeah. All right, thank you very much. All right, you are listening to the one and only 92.7, 98.5, The Talk of Delmarva.
Bombadita, 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 until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
92.7 WGMD Rehoboth Beach and 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
Ernesto finds the needle in the haystack. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. The hurricane making landfall this morning on the tiny island of Bermuda in the Atlantic, lashing it with 85-mile-an-hour winds and high waves. The hurricane still moving to the northeast away from the U.S., but it's still causing headaches and hazardous rip currents along East Coast beaches.
Really dangerous conditions. You need to not get into the water anywhere. I know it's a weekend, late summer weekend. People want to be out at these beaches. Only swim where you've got a lifeguard, and if it is safe to do so. Aside from that, you got to stay out of the water.
Fox Chief Meteorologist Rick Reichmuth. Former President Trump holds a campaign rally in Pennsylvania tonight. Vice President Harris will be making appearances there tomorrow.
Former President Donald Trump holds a rally tonight in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, near Scranton. The former president and Republican nominee has been focusing his campaign on Pennsylvania, which is decidedly a swing state, with 19 electoral votes up for grabs. It also comes as the Democratic nominee, Vice President Kamala Harris, begins a bus tour Sunday in Pennsylvania, leading up to Monday's start of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. It's also been a little longer than a month since the former president survived an assassination attempt during a rally in Butler Township, Pennsylvania. He's since announced he will hold another rally in Butler in the coming weeks. Eben Brown, Fox News.
The vice president offered her plans to help the economy in a speech yesterday in North Carolina.
As president, I will be laser focused on creating opportunities for the middle class that advance their economic security, stability, and dignity. Together, we will build what I call an opportunity economy.
Former President Trump blasting the plan on social media, saying it would make the U.S. economy resemble Venezuela's. America is listening to Fox News.
Another update from your local news source, 92.7
has been filed against the Rehoboth Beach mayor and city commissioners over the hiring of new city manager Taylor Tedder. According to WBOC, 2 residents filed that lawsuit Thursday in Delaware Chancery Court. One of the litigants, Tom Gaynor, told the commissioners last month during a special meeting that Tedder's hiring violates the city charter.
So this is a serial pattern of deciding material issues behind closed doors that affect the people who pay the bills, that shuts out any of their opportunity for feedback or even comment to you. Not that you would take it anyway. You're going to do what you're going to do today, just like you did with Mr. Burns and just like you did in the April discussions post the first FOIA that you were found to violate. I'm delighted that the Attorney General issued such a stinging indictment to your conduct. I doubt it's going to change anything. And if it doesn't change anything, there's only one course of action left to the citizens to hold you accountable. And trust me, we will.
And the state attorney general did rule that the city violated FOIA laws in Tedder's hiring. And Bethany Beach police are trying to identify the suspect involved in a vehicle pursuit Thursday night around 11 p.m. Police attempted a traffic stop on a white Tesla with unknown registration after the driver sped down Garfield Parkway, racing another vehicle and running the stop sign at Pennsylvania Avenue as pedestrians were crossing the street. Police activated their emergency equipment, but the Tesla failed to stop and drove south on Route 1 at a high rate of speed, just missing striking 2 other vehicles, then turning onto Jefferson Bridge Road. Police terminated their pursuit, but they are looking for the vehicle and the driver and passenger. If you have information, contact Bethany Police. You'll find pictures at thetocofdelmarva.com. Delaware wildfire firefighters are on their way to Oregon. A 12-person crew and a brush truck from the Delaware Forest Service are headed to Redmond, Oregon, where they will be working to control wildfires for 20 days. They're expected to return home the week of September the 8th.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Watch for unusually rough surf and rip currents throughout the weekend. For today, windy, humid, times of clouds and sun, but increasing clouds tonight with a chance for a shower or thunderstorm. A low tonight at 71 degrees. For Sunday, mostly cloudy, breezy and humid. Couple of showers possible or a thunderstorm, and a high 81 to 87. Monday, mostly cloudy, humid, chance for a thunderstorm, and a high 80 to 85. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva.
Better buildings have smart controls. Better buildings have healthy airflow. Better buildings save energy. Better buildings are made with humans in mind to be productive and happy. Want a better environment? Design better buildings and increase your ROI.
The Giuliani team can make your building and Delmarva better for business.
More tenants, more efficiency, and more business.
Design a better Delmarva.com. Design a better Delmarva.com.
It's nearly that time to head back into the classroom. It's time to dust off your backpacks, fill them up, and get ready for the new school year. For students and parents, that means collecting school supplies, getting new clothes, and needed checkups for school and sports. For teachers, it's developing lesson plans and getting the classroom ready for a new crop of students. For everyone, it's getting back into a regular schedule, especially in the morning and at bedtime. For more information on Back to School Month, go to the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetocofdelmarva.com.
Good afternoon, Delmarva. This is Tipping the Scales of Justice with Julianne Murray. I am live in studio this week. For those of you that aren't familiar with Tipping the Scales of Justice, this is a weekly show on Saturdays between 12 and 2 that is hosted by yours truly. I am a Delaware attorney that gives up a couple of hours to take your legal questions. This is your opportunity to get the answer to that legal question that's been on your mind. Don't be shy if you have a question. I promise I won't bite, and I can almost guarantee that if you have a question, somebody else has that same question, so you're helping yourself and somebody else by calling in. What are the numbers? 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also watch me live on IndustryNewsOnline.com, and you can submit questions electronically on this site. For you regulars out there, you know that every time I am on this show, we do something called disclaimers. We go over them every time because we want to make sure that there's no confusion about how we do things here. Here we go.
If you ask your question to Tipping the Scales of Justice, you are not establishing an attorney-client relationship. This show is designed to be a public service where general legal questions can be answered. You may be asked specific questions so that the attorneys can better answer your question, but that does not mean they have become your attorney. Please be mindful that we are trying to get as many callers as possible, so please limit yourself to one question per call. If the attorneys don't know an answer, they aren't going to fake their way through it. The attorneys are going to tell you if they are unsure, and they are going to find the answer. As professionals, they have reference materials available, but might have to find the answers off air and then provide the information later in the show. If you hear us say that we should talk off the air, take the hint that there is something either too specific or too juicy to tie up the airwaves. They will get your contact information off air and follow up at a later date.
Okay, let's get rolling with those questions. Phone numbers again, 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292, or you can go on to industrynewsonline.com and submit a question electronically. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Paul from Lewis.
Hey, Paul, how can I help you today?
This may seem ridiculous, but is it possible to sue the IRS?
Sue, probably not, but so it is federal agency, obviously. So it's not a constitutional issue from the standpoint of the, state immunity or anything like that. I know that you can file an administrative complaint against the IRS. I would have to do a little digging. I mean, I got to believe somebody has sued the IRS in the past. I just don't know whether it got anywhere. And it would depend on what it was related to. So, for instance, if it is, there's a Internal Revenue Service code. If it's a code violation, it would be treated differently than, for instance, a constitutional violation, which there's no way that could be remedied administratively. That would have to be in a court.
I got you. Now, this is a specific question. They've been holding money that really isn't owed to them. And I've talked to many people, sent letters, emails, and I just never get a resolution to the issue. And it's frustrating. It's been 4 years.
That was going to be my question, is how long has it been? So they have been holding money for 4 years that they shouldn't be holding.
Correct.
That's long.
Initially, there was a problem with the paperwork, but it was easily resolved, and it just, my last notice from them said we can't finish our investigation for another 90 days. I've gotten about 6 of those over the years, and there is still no resolution ever offered. I mean, not that there's a resolution, they just owe me money.
They owe you money. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell you that it's not going to make you feel better, but just so you don't feel like you're being singled out. My mother-in-law died in 2020, and we are still waiting for a refund that's owed, and we are in 2024. And I mean, I'm an attorney and tried, every phone number, I've gone at every angle I could and got so frustrated so I understand exactly what you're saying. The only solution, and I don't know that it's feasible, is there are certain groups that help with tax assistance. Now, that most of them are geared toward trying to help you from a tax abatement standpoint. You see them online or on TV. Maybe reaching out to one of them to just say, totally different question, just kind of pick their brain. I mean, they might actually, sometimes it's who, having that one contact number for somebody that could actually help might be worth doing. Even if they don't have skin in the game, there are some decent people out there who might just say, oh, this is who you have to call, or this is the piece of paper you have to file in order to push it along. Now, in those notices that you've gotten, have you actually gotten an admission from them that they owe you this money?
No, it's always, we're looking into it, and we... in the very beginning, as we didn't have enough evidence, but then I provided, and some provided the evidence as well. So from then on, it was just a delay. It's delay after delay after delay, and I've gotten my congressperson involved for the 3 years, and they keep switching, people that are in charge of that department. So it's kind of hard to get anywhere with them, but I keep trying because I want my money.
Amen. I mean, and rest assured that if you owed them, you wouldn't get 4 years to pay it. But unfortunately, the other thing that I have found is snark doesn't get you anywhere with the IRS. So what I would do, like I said, I would next commercial you see where they're talking about help from tax debt relief or something like that. Seriously, just call them and say, I do not need tax relief, but run it past somebody that maybe there's somebody who knows an avenue that could help you. That's where I would go.
Right. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Have a great day. Take care. All right. Back to those phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from? Oh, okay. No caller. All right. So let me do a digital question. Let's see. From Wanda in Harrington. And it says, if a Delaware resident dies, has a will, but the spouse didn't register it, how do the family members get a copy of it? Is that will still a legal document not being registered? Thank you. Okay, so a couple of things in here. A will is legal even if it is not registered. So the fact that it was not registered doesn't invalidate it. In terms of whether a will has been filed, a will really only has to be filed if an estate is opened. So in terms of the family members, they don't necessarily get a copy of it, believe it or not. What drives the bus on an estate being opened is if you have debts that have to be paid, for the estate, or if there's solely held property. If everything is jointly held, and with spouses, it's not uncommon that there are everything's jointly held, the property, the bank accounts, or everything is beneficiary driven. There's no need to necessarily open that estate. So what can happen in a way to kind of for the family to find out whether that's, I'm going to use the word, the claim of the spouse, is to see if there is the tax bill for the property, the real property that is owned, if it is still in both names or whether it is in the individual name of the spouse that survived. If that's the case, then the spouse filed what's called a jointly held real estate affidavit and a death certificate, and that's all that needed to be filed. So it is not an automatic that a will has to be filed, and in terms of family members wanting to know what's going on, if no estate is open, they don't necessarily get to know that. So I know that's surprising to people, but it's just like people believe that there has to be a reading of the will and kind of like Scooby-Doo where everybody's around the table, and that's actually not the case. So lots of bad information out there. I know I've got some other callers, but let's just do this. Let's hop away for a second. Callers, just hang on, and then I have you for the bottom half of the hour. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
(302-945-9292) or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to IndustryNewsOnline.com and submit questions electronically. Let's go to those phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yes, Julianne, this is Bill of Sussex County.
All right, how can I help you, Bill?
Yes, ma'am. I've got a quick question for you. Because of some health issues and different things, I've had to get an absentee ballot. I would like to know, because I can't go. I went on the Delaware GOP website, and of course they're advertising all the rallies and different things. Where can you find the quote officially endorsed candidates on that? Because I apparently with like Delaware GOP. Did not find, DelawareGOP.org.
Okay. All right. So, and believe it or not, DelawareGOP.com is different than .org because Delaware GOP, there's a Delaware County in Ohio. Can't make this up. Okay. So and our website for the state for DelawareGOP.com is we're actually working on the candidate stuff right now because we've had some issues with it. In the interim, Sussex GOP. .com is updated and has who the endorsed candidates are. I'm actually making sure that it's SussexGOP.com. I'm 99% sure it is. And in terms of, while I'm looking that up, for your absentee ballot, I'm curious, did you request it from directly from the Department of Elections? Did you go online and do it?
No, I actually called them.
Good. Okay. Because what I'm doing timely-wise, so today is actually, for those listening, today is the last day to register prior to the primary. And you can do what Bill did here and call the Department of Elections for the county. You can also go on to ivote.de.com and you can request an absentee ballot there. The internet in the building, it's SussexGOP.com. I'm comfortable about that, and I know that they have the endorsed candidates there. For the purpose of your absentee ballot, I believe that the candidates that would be on your absentee ballot is the governor race, in which case the endorsed candidate is Mike Ramone. Congress, the endorsed candidate is Danielle Hall. Any of the other elections that may be on your ballot, we do not actually have endorsed candidates. The state only endorses the statewide.
Gotcha. Oh, okay. Very good. Okay. that's what I was wondering. So anyhow,
all right.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much for your help and your work. And I was going to say I even bought tamper-resistant tape to place it on the envelope, so if anybody fiddles around with it, it will say void on the envelope. So.
Love it. That's great. All right, thanks, Bill. Thanks very much for the phone call. And on I've got a couple more callers, but later in the show I'll talk about some election integrity stuff that we're doing in terms of watching what's going on here. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Pat from Harrington.
How can I help you, Pat?
Well, I want to follow up with the gentleman who called about having some issues getting a response out of IRS. Got a recommendation.
Okay.
And that would be take your documentation and, for me it would be the Dover office of IRS and go and meet with a local person, because I've found sometimes meeting with someone locally, you get more action than if you try to go through the 800 number.
Okay. All right, so great idea, and I hadn't even thought about that. Hopefully Paul from Lewis is still listening. What Pat's suggesting is there are local IRS offices. I don't know, do you know where the one I know where the Delaware Division of Revenue where the Delaware one, is there one in Delaware? I know there's one in Salisbury.
Well, there's an IRS office in Dover. I imagine there may be one in Georgetown, but definitely up in Dover there's an IRS office.
Okay.
It's next Winter Ford.
Okay. No, I appreciate that, Pat. It's a great suggestion. Very good.
Okay, well, good luck.
Okay.
Right.
Appreciate it. Take care. Before I pick up that next caller, it's Sussex.GOP for anybody who's listening, for the Sussex GOP website, Sussex.GOP. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, is it me?
It is you. What's your name?
Hi, yes. My parents have a place on leased ground since 1962, and in 2007 there was a new survey of the owner's plots, and they surveyed us out of the plot plan. I have copies of the original survey that was done in the early 70s, and then when they did this new survey in 2007, I have a copy of that. And they completely eliminated Lot 64 of my parents' property.
I have never heard of this. Okay. All right, so is the whole community leased land?
Yes.
And in the original survey from the 70s, Lot 64 was there.
Yes.
And then in 2007, same community, looks like the old survey,
it was the same owner at that point. At that point, it was the same owner. And then just within the last few years, they sold it to another property management company. And my parents put the place up for sale, okay? And when they put this up for sale, they kept holding us off from going to settlement. In fact, we have a settlement date for the 31st of this month, and they won't let us go to settlement. And that's how I found all this out.
All right, let's back up for a second. The survey, the quote-unquote new survey that you were talking about, you said happened in 2007, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any other survey since 2000?
It's registered up at Georgetown. I was up at Georgetown, and it's registered up at Georgetown.
Understand. There's a plot, and there's a plot book where these are registered. And then the survey that was done in the 70s and the one that was done in 2007, you said it was still the same owner when those two surveys happened, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Are there any other lots that were dropped? And I'm not being a smart aleck when I say this. I'm trying to visually imagine why this would happen. Is Lot 63 and Lot 65, do they abut 64, and are they still there and just 64 is missing?
All the lots that were on that road that were existing, they're still there, but they made their lots bigger, 2 of the lots bigger, I believe, and eliminated us, like 63 and 65 now
are bigger.
And they've eliminated us completely. We've been paying taxes, we've been paying land lease, our rent since since 62.
This is a hot mess. And what I don't know is whether it's a whoops or whether, I mean, so it's, and how long, your parents, you said, have been there since the 60s?
After the hurricane of 62, they took it over.
Okay, so a couple of things.
It's actually a residence, a house over the water, and then they have. I got original, like some kind of piece of paper that says his name, Lot 64, but that isn't dated until the early 70s because I think that's when the original owner had to register a lot of these properties. I think before the 70s, I think it was just a handshake. And
understood. And did they get a tax bill even this year? Are they? You say they're paying taxes, but does the tax bill?
Not yet this year, but I have last year's.
And it says Lot 64?
I'm sorry.
It says Lot 64?
Yep. Well, it actually gives the 911, and it has the tax ID number.
I understand, but all right, complicated. And so the reason my guess is that settlement got delayed is I don't know whether this was inadvertent or not, but the fact that the plot does not have it on there anymore does complicate the heck out of things. Yikes. Do you guys have if you want to hang on, I got it, hard break. If you want to hang on, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll do my best.
Hang on.
Okay, you got it. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that Laura's she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and but she listens very carefully and she researches and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. You know, the people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is
Business and entertainment news and sports. Starting your day in the know here on 92.7 WGMD and WGMD.com.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray here live in studio. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to IndustryNewsOnline.com and submit questions electronically. I've got Mike on the line, but before I pick back up Mike, Bill in Sussex County says that register today at Georgetown DOE office in person till 4:30 for the primary. So I had said today was the deadline. Apparently the office on Race Street in Georgetown is open if you want to go register in person prior to the primary. All right, Mike, you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so the settlement, you said there was supposed to be a settlement at the end of the month. I don't need to know who it is, but...
When we went in, we handed in a piece of paper that said our intentions, a letter of intent to sell the place. Okay.
Handed it in to who?
Later,
handed it in to who?
Pardon?
Who did you hand the letter of intent to?
The office, the park management office.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. All right. Keep going.
And then a couple days later, the realtor went in because you have to do a credit check. The new buyer has to do a credit check to make sure that they're up to credit to move in. Mm-hmm. And they would not accept that credit check. And it's been dragging on. First it was because of the road, then it was DENREC, then it was now it's surveys. So they keep on moving things around, and not sure.
Okay. Is there an actual settlement scheduled at any point?
Yes.
Okay. Was there an attorney that was handling the settlement?
I'm not speaking for the realtor, but between us and the buyer, it was supposed to happen on the 31st of this month.
Okay. Again, I need to know, but typically now lease land's a little bit different. So was an attorney involved in the settlement, or it was just you, the sellers and the buyers, intended to go to settlement, but I need to know whether an attorney was in the mix.
I'm not sure of that answer, whether he got the attorney involved, because he could never hand in this credit application.
Okay, I mean, something definitely is wrong.
They would not accept the credit application.
Yeah. I mean, something's definitely wrong here, but it certainly feels like because the credit application and things like that are being rejected, that perhaps the park knows that there is an issue. I think you or your parents need to actually go have a very direct conversation with the park management about this, or the new owner, to find out what is going on. Again, let me finish. Let me finish.
They're never in the office. They have a receptionist in the office 5 days a week, maybe 4 hours a day. But the person who manages it, this new company has quite a few different places that they manage. 13, I'm under the impression.
Mm-hmm.
And they're never. In fact, I tried to get a sit down with them before the 31st, and she said, "Oh, we're not even going to be in town until the next month, the beginning of next month."
I think you need to get an attorney involved.
Okay.
Again, you're talking at the same time I am. What did you just say?
I apologize.
Okay.
I tried to have a sit down with them.
I heard you.
And since they don't, sit down face to face and try to get this ironed out, why we can't go to settlement, and they said that there will not be anybody in any management in the office until the beginning of next month.
Understood. I think at this point you've done what you can. You do need to get an attorney involved in this. Like, they need to be put on notice in writing that they are, there's an issue here, that whatever is going on, and I would, and it needs to be, I'm trying to think in terms of trying to find somebody. It would need to be somebody who does civil litigation, even though you're not necessarily going to file suit. It's not, you don't want to have to go there, but you need somebody who's willing to write that letter and would be willing to sue. This is messed up because you guys have done absolutely nothing wrong here. Your parents have done everything that they were supposed to do, but there is definitely more to this story in terms of, a lot's there that then is not there. Again, was it intentional? Was it an accident? Does the park now know about it, but doesn't know how to fix it? Like, there's a whole lot of pieces here, but the actual owner of the park needs to be put on notice, not the management company, the owner.
Okay, the actual owner. Well, it's under, I can't say it online who it is, probably.
Prefer you don't.
But anyhow, they are very evasive. They're lawyered up. And
which is why you need a lawyer.
Just don't seem.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah. That's why you need a lawyer.
Okay. If I cannot find a civil lawyer or somebody like that, is this something that your office would handle, even though it wouldn't be necessarily a landlord-tenant dispute at this point, or is it a landlord-tenant dispute?
I don't know that it's a landlord-tenant dispute. No, my office doesn't. But what you can do, let's do this. If you want to shoot me an email, I definitely can't do it, but I might be able to help you find somebody. Shoot me an email with the details. I need to know the community, and whatever you've got there, and it's Julie at murrayphillipslaw.com.
Okay.
And if you just look me up, you can find me on the web, and you can do it that way.
Because the rent's going to be due the first of the month. What can we do about putting money in escrow?
We've gotten way too. I can't answer that without knowing a little bit more about what's going on here, in terms of what the lease looks like, how long is the lease. Did the lease change when you got new owners? There's a whole lot.
I haven't signed a new lease in 20 years.
Gotcha. So, but shoot me the details on it, and I'll do what I can with it in terms of getting you to somebody, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Let's go to those phone lines. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Julianne. Good morning. This is Joan.
Hello, Joan.
Hi. Yes, I'll be brief. I have a question about the alleged shooter of President Trump. I just heard it was yesterday and the day before that the FBI released Crook's body 10 days after the shooting to be cremated. Antonin Scalia was also cremated at the request of his family, but he was under a doctor's care. He did not die in his residence. I find that very suspicious. John F. Kennedy Jr. was also cremated at the request of Ted Kennedy. What could you tell me about what's going on with the cremation process? Because if they, in the future, they may need that as evidence.
I don't know the answer to why Crooks was released, except, I mean, perhaps they had the photos and everything that they need from an autopsy standpoint, and does not the body wasn't needed anymore, and so they could then cremate. In terms of, I mean, I remember when Scalia died that I thought it was under tremendously suspicious circumstances.
Yes.
But in some of these cases, so in Scalia's case, it sounded like what you said was that his family went ahead and said okay to the cremation. But I don't know, and I had not heard that about Crooks. But to me, I mean, there would be nothing that I could think of from the standpoint of why his body would have to still be available. It is clear how he died, not necessarily by whom. That's a totally different issue, but how for sure. And they had the forensic evidence that they needed.
Oh, they do have it then. Okay. I wasn't sure. It just, the whole thing, it's like the twists and turns, and here we go again. Will we ever get the truth,
No, I do. I understand completely.
Okay, Julian, thank you so much for your time. You take care.
I appreciate the call. Thank you.
Okay,
all right, go back to those phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Deborah, and I'm in Millsboro.
Hey, Deborah, how can I help you today?
I got a property question. My husband and I bought some property. It's like a subdivision. We have 4 parcels here, and someone just bought the parcel next to me at 6 acres, and they're wanting to subdivide it.
You sent a digital question. I was actually just getting ready to get this. So let me read the question because it'll set it so that everybody understands. Because it's Deborah in Millsboro. My husband and I purchased property a few years ago. We've built our home on it. There is my property and 3 others, a total of 4. When we bought our property, included in the signature documents were restrictions that each property must abide by. The first of the restrictions is that each parcel should only have a single residence. One property owner is looking into subdividing the parcel, building 2 homes. Can they do that? My husband and I and the other 2 property owners are against them doing that. What, if anything, can we do to prevent their property having 2 homes on it? Okay.
Yes.
Are you sure the one that the person that all 4 have the same deed restriction on it, that there can only be a single property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we all have the same. All 4 of us have the same restrictions.
Okay. And do you know whether the grantor, the person who put the restriction on, like when you bought
the original owner of the 4 parcels, yes. He's the one that made up. He said that the county told him to put these restrictions in.
Okay. Is he still alive?
Yes.
Okay.
Alive and well.
Okay. So what you do is, and I'm not a zoning person. I mean, so what they're looking for here, this property owner, I would first contact planning and zoning in Sussex County and tell them about, give them the tax map and parcel number, and you can find that it's going to be 1 number off from yours.
Oh, I have that. Yeah.
Okay.
I have that.
Yep. Let them and say there is a deed restriction that that this cannot be subdivided, or it can't have more than 1 home on it. That's where I would start, actually.
Okay.
And it, but in terms of the person who put the restriction on, the reason I asked that is that person could also remove the restriction potentially. So I don't think he would.
Well,
Go ahead.
when we went to closing, we asked if some of the restrictions could be changed, and they told us at closing, change them now, because after you sign the papers, they cannot be changed. And then we had to go to the other. There was at that time only 2 homeowners, us and another parcel, and we agreed on the changes.
Is there an actual association for the 4 of you?
No.
Okay.
We are called a subdivision, but we do not have an HOA or anything like that.
Okay, because I mean, so the changes that you and the other two made, you say you made the changes, but are they recorded, or what changes did you guys make?
Yes, they are. They are. It says the restrictions set forth herein should supersede those deed restrictions included in the deed to what we filed for the record at the Recorder of Deeds and in Sussex County at Georgetown, deed book 5573, page, yes. So it is recorded.
Okay, so and is it against all 4 parcels or just the 3 that you guys? All right,
and all 4 parcels.
And when you guys, because there was a majority, there were 3 of you. Because deed restrictions are a different animal than an association for sure. My thought on I would start with planning and zoning, and because I don't know that if a survey is submitted to planning and zoning that shows the split of this lot, or trying to subdivide it, whether from a title search standpoint, I don't know the role of planning and zoning enough to know how far back they go. Like, do they look into these kinds of restrictions? So I would put them on notice that there's a restriction.
Yesterday, a surveyor came out. My husband and my neighbor went and asked him what he was doing and if they were surveying for a septic or for a home, and he says he was surveying to subdivide it. Did you guys tell the surveyor? That's what he was. No, I did. I wasn't home, so I don't know what happened.
Do you know if they know, either of them noted who the surveyor is? I don't need you to say it, but do they know who the surveyor was?
I do not know, but I will find out.
Well, because I would call the surveyor, because they actually also look at deeds. And let the surveyor know that there's a deed restriction.
Okay.
Because sometimes the surveyors
my neighbor said that can't be subdivided.
Okay, well that's good. But if the neighbor said can't be subdivided, but didn't say the magic words that there is a deed restriction, that may be an issue. That's why I'm saying let that surveyor and planning and zoning know. But listen, I got to step away. You can hang on if you need to, but they're giving me the signal. So I got to hop away for a second. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray, I got a note here. Deborah, are you still on the line?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, got somebody in line behind you, but let me try and figure out where we go from here. So what I'm suggesting is planning and zoning, and that I understand that your neighbor told the surveyor that it can't be subdivided, but if there's any chance that either your husband or the neighbor saw who the surveyor was, contacting the surveyor and giving them the actual deed book that shows it. Typically when a survey is done, though, if you can't, it's not the end of the world, because typically when a survey is done, they actually look at the deed of record, and when the person who is trying to subdivide bought, it sounds like those conditions were there.
Yes, they were. Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully they will see that and and understand that there's a deed restriction, that it can't be subdivided.
Okay. Thank you for your help.
Oh, you're very welcome. All right. Let me go to the next caller. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Lisa from Millville.
Hi. How can I help you?
I have a question regarding a will and a reverse mortgage.
Okay.
So I'm single, don't have family, and I'm doing my own will, but I'm giving everything to friends, including the house. Do I need to put the reverse mortgage in the will? That's my only major debt at the moment.
Okay, apples and oranges. So in terms of, the mortgage does not go in the will. However, if there is a reverse mortgage at the time that you die, the reverse mortgage has to be satisfied.
Correct.
So
do I need to say that, though, in the will?
No, you don't. I mean, you can. It's not going to hurt to do it, but in terms of when you die with solely held property, an estate will have to be opened, and included in that would this debt would come up as part of it. It's not going to hurt if you put it in there. But when you say that you want,
I might not have it by the time I die either. There is that.
There is
like
that.
I might be put in a nursing home or something.
Understood. Question though, when you say that you want the house to go to your friends, do you want the proceeds from the house to go to your friends, or do you want the house to go to your friends?
The proceeds.
Okay.
So that they can pay off the reverse mortgage.
Then this is what you need to do in your will. You need to direct the sale of the property. I
have to say it that way, or?
Yeah, you say, I direct that any real property that I own shall be sold, any outstanding mortgage satisfied, and the proceeds distributed as follows, and then list who you are and whether it's percentages. But if you word it that way, if you don't have the house, then that article just doesn't apply. But the direction to sell will make it so that your executor, whoever you name, has the authority to sell the house, doesn't have to get everybody's signature. It's much, much more efficient.
Oh, that would be my next question. So you have to have an executor?
Absolutely.
Aha. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, not a problem
Have
at
a good
all.
day.
You too. Take care, Lisa.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so on that, I want to make sure, and I didn't mention this before I hung up. When you're doing your own will, and I actually met with somebody earlier this week who was doing one, went online. A lot of these services don't tell you about this whole direction to sell concept. They just say, where does your stuff go? When in Delaware, when you die, if you have more than one beneficiary or only one beneficiary, the property goes to whoever you name. So if you have 2 kids and you say, my residuary estate goes to my 2 kids, if you own real property, they become co-owners. Well, lo and behold, they don't agree on what's supposed to happen. One of them wants to rent it. One of them wants to sell it. They're just co-owners. One of them moves in and says, I'm taking my 50% by living here 100% of the time. And it hurts the other one. And the other one has to sue because the one who moves in doesn't want to pay for it. If you put a direction to sell in the will, it forces liquidation. If one of them wants to buy it, they can, okay? But they're going to pay half or whatever their percentage is that they've inherited. They're going to pay the rest of it to whoever those other beneficiaries are. It's a way to make sure that if somebody wants to buy it, they can, but that your other beneficiaries are going to get the money, and instead of having somebody monopolize that piece of property. It's very important, and it's not something that it's a nuance that many of the online will providers would not necessarily consider. The other thing that is very important is that if you are going to give your estate to organizations, you absolutely have to do a direction to sell, because otherwise what happens is you have organizations that are now co-owners. There's all sorts of issues with power of attorney and things like that from the organizations trying to get everything, get the permission in order to list it, sign the deed, things like that. So if you're giving your estate to charities or anything like that, very important that you have a direction to sell, because that empowers your executor to list the property, sign the deed, and then just give the money to wherever you want it to go. So we made it through the first hour. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
From Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, this is WGMD Radio. Giving you news 24 hours a day. Local updates. The talk of Delmarva. WGMD.
The Keystone State is up for grabs. I'm Paul Stevens, Fox News. Former President Trump rallying today, Saturday, in Battleground, Pennsylvania. Fox's Alexis McAdams has it for us. As we continue our coverage of the November election.
The former president is going to hammer Kamala Harris again, not just on inflation, but just her overall economic policy.
If she wins, your finances and your country will never recover. You're never going to recover.
But Kamala Harris and her team say they're confident their plan's going to help everyday Americans.
As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans. Now compare what Donald Trump plans to do.
The former president's going to talk about that again today as well. So former President Trump is leading in the race. If you look at the Fox News national polls that just came out, by 1 percentage point, he sits at 50%, with the Vice President Kamala Harris sitting at 49%.
Meantime, how to help the economy, some ideas. Yesterday, we heard in North Carolina from Vice President Kamala Harris.
The VP's unveiled economic plans read much like a well-worn Democratic playbook. But like any good playbook, there were a few new wrinkles in it. Among her proposals, boosting the child tax credit, $6,000 tax cut for families with newborn children. Price gouging ban would be a first ever on the federal level, and it would involve food and groceries. Expanding affordable housing, pushing the construction of 3 million new units over 4 years. Helping first-time home buyers, getting a first-generation $25,000 down payment assistance, and limiting taxes on tips.
And that's Fox's Kevin Cork. Hurricane Ernesto hitting Bermuda today. Strong winds, a dangerous storm surge, and life-threatening flooding. Ernesto still a Category 1 storm. America's listening to Fox News.
lawsuit has been filed against the Rehoboth Beach mayor and city commissioners over the hiring of new city manager Taylor Tedder. According to WBOC, 2 residents filed that lawsuit Thursday in Delaware Chancery Court. One of the litigants, Tom Gaynor, told the commissioners last month during a special meeting that Tedder's hiring violates the city charter.
So this is a serial pattern of deciding material issues behind closed doors that affect the people who pay the bills, that shuts out any of their opportunity for feedback or even comment to you. Not that you would take it anyway. You're going to do what you're going to do today, just like you did with Mr. Burns and just like you did in the April discussions post the first FOIA that you were found to violate. I'm delighted that the Attorney General issued such a stinging indictment to your conduct. I doubt it can change anything. And if it doesn't change anything, there's only one course of action left to the citizens to hold you accountable. And trust me, we will.
And the state attorney general did rule that the city violated FOIA laws in Tedder's hiring. And Bethany Beach police are trying to identify the suspect involved in a vehicle pursuit Thursday night around 11 p.m. Police attempted a traffic stop on a white Tesla with unknown registration after the driver sped down Garfield Parkway, racing another vehicle and running the stop sign at Pennsylvania Avenue as pedestrians were crossing the street. Police activated their emergency equipment, but the Tesla failed to stop and drove south on Route 1 at a high rate of speed, just missing striking 2 other vehicles, then turning onto Jefferson Bridge Road. Police terminated their pursuit, but they are looking for the vehicle and the driver and passenger. If you have information, contact Bethany Police. You'll find pictures at thetalkofdelmarva.com. Delaware wildfire firefighters are on their way to Oregon. A 12-person crew and a brush truck from the Delaware Forest Service are headed to Redmond, Oregon, where they will be working to control wildfires for 20 days. They're expected to return home the week of September the 8th.
WGMD AccuWeather.
Watch for unusually rough surf and rip currents throughout the weekend. For today, windy, humid, times of clouds and sun, but increasing clouds tonight with a chance for a shower or thunderstorm. A low tonight at 71 degrees. For Sunday, mostly cloudy, breezy and humid. A couple of showers possible or a thunderstorm, and a high 81 to 87. Monday, mostly cloudy, humid, chance for a thunderstorm, and a high 80 to 85. I'm Mary Lou for 92.7 and 98.5, The Talk of Delmarva. The need for blood is constant, but sometimes that need becomes critical. The Blood Bank of Delmarva needs your help, and first-time donors are encouraged to help Delaware and the Eastern Shore of Maryland residents who need it most. To schedule your appointment, call 1-888-8-BLOOD-8 or visit delmarvablood.org. Your one blood donation can help save multiple lives. For more information, go to the Community Outreach under the Extras tab at thetalkofdelmarva.com.
Attention Talk of Delmarva listeners. The WGMD app has been updated and is ready for you to download. Simply visit the Apple Store or Google Play and search WGMD and download the file to update your smart device. The updated app will allow you to listen to 92.7 or 98.5 through your smart device, streaming audio. Another service from the many platforms of the Talk of Delmarva.
This is Julianne Murray. We are in our second hour. Lots going on. I've got a bunch of digital questions, and it doesn't look like I have anybody on the line at the moment. So what I'm going to do before I hop over to the digital questions is, and I just heard it at the top of the hour and heard it this morning from the WGMD news desk, talking about the fact that citizens from Rehoboth Beach have filed suit over FOIA violations. And for those who don't know, FOIA is the Freedom of Information Act, and it requires public bodies. So there's basically the premise of FOIA is that things cannot be done in back rooms, that, you know, particularly as it relates to municipalities, things have to be open, and the things that can be done behind the scenes are limited. So the Delaware Freedom of Information Act requires public bodies to respond to requests for records. Within 15 days of receiving the request, they can either provide access to the records, or they can deny access. They can request more time, but they cannot ignore it. Now, here's what's significant about what's going on in Rehoboth Beach. And I don't know who got the Department of Justice involved in it, but the Attorney General's office here in Delaware issued a finding that they violated FOIA. And what we're talking about here is the compensation package for the new city manager. So I'm looking at it. It says a group of concerned citizens and stakeholders filed a complaint with the DOJ this month alleging the city violated FOIA by failing to follow open meeting requirements when discussing candidates' compensation, which ultimately was much higher than advertised. So compensation itself can sometimes be in what's called an executive session, but it's very, very limited on what can be done in executive session. The DOJ actually did issue an opinion that says they violated FOIA by failing to follow that open meeting requirement. And the requirement that I'm talking about here is you have to give notice. It's at least 7 days notice. You have to publish an agenda. You know, the stuff that happens behind the scenes cannot happen. And it says that the opinion details how the city failed to give proper notice for planned discussion of candidate qualifications, failed to discuss the contract and the compensation package in open public session, and public comment was not scheduled for public meetings. When you are a municipality, you cannot ignore your constituents. So what they did is, it sounds like just this week, they filed, and it's homeowners Stephen, I think Lynham, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, and Thomas Gaynor, who was in the audio clip that we just listened to, basically has now gone to Chancery Court and is saying, and Chancery is exactly where you should go because it's what's called an equity court. It's where you go when you are trying to get someone to stop doing something or start doing something. And they're saying that the breach has resulted in the city and its citizens being saddled with an illegal and outsized public contract resulting from multiple violations of FOIA. And what happens is by getting the Chancery Court involved, they can the Chancery Court can void the contract. It makes the contract what's called voidable, not void. Void means that it's canceled. Voidable means that it can be canceled. But the gist of this is that this, and the Attorney General in the article that I'm reading talks about the fact that the commissioners for Rehoboth could hold a FOIA compliant meeting, okay, and hash this out, whether they're going to uphold the compensation package or whether they're going to take the public comment. But they could remedy this. But it sounds to me, and the reason this suit is being filed is that they would not do that. So FOIA, and I mean, I know that many people just kind of go, freedom of information, but I can tell you it's, we've used it a lot in post-election stuff, in the 2020 election, in the 22 election, when we made requests to the Department of Elections for information about adjudication rates and, numbers, lots of that different stuff. I can tell you on a national level, the stuff that I have done with the Heritage Foundation, and I'm continuing to do with the Heritage Foundation here in Delaware, is based in FOIA. It's, we're making requests to the Department of Justice federally for stuff from David Weiss from the DOJ about how and why things weren't charged like the Mann Act. So keep it tuned. I mean, as a lawyer, I love this. I mean, it's unfortunate that they're doing this, but that they are pushing this issue and not being silenced. Kudos. And, and I will keep on top of this and update, in future shows. All right, phone numbers, 302-945-9292 and 800-518-9292, or you can go to Industry News Online and industrynewsonline.com and do digital questions. I also have something here. Several people the chat has been very busy today about the IRS call that I had earlier. Jake from Milford said, having problems with the IRS, call your U.S. Senator or Congressman. I believe that Paul did that. I think he said that he had. And then Marianne says that the IRS contact Taxpayer Advocate Division of the IRS to help with problems. They fixed my problem rather quickly. So just some ideas. Digital question. Melinda, it says, we have a daughter who attended DSU in the fall of 2023. They have a financial hold on her account and won't release her official transcripts to us so she can be eligible to play soccer at her new college. Help. All right, Melinda, I need a little bit more information than this. So I'm putting it out on the airwaves, and you can tune in and give additional information the same way that you submitted this question. you're not saying why they have the financial hold. So I do know of institutions that will, if you owe money to the institution for some reason, that will hold the transcript so that they can get paid. What happens with that is then the next question is it a legitimate debt request or not? So if you are disputing something, like there's a charge there that you are disputing, then you need to actually formally dispute it. If you don't know why, they're just saying there's a financial hold and they've not given you any reason, you need to make a submission in writing to them demanding to know what the financial hold, the purpose for the financial hold, and the details behind the financial hold. So they can't just say, hey, you owe $1,000. You can demand that they say what is owed, if anything, when that accrue, and what the basis of that is. But I can't tell from this what the reason for the financial hold is, whether you actually know what that is or whether you are just, they've just told you that it's a hold. I've got one that I need to do a little bit more research on, so I'm going to come back to that one. I've got Ted in Lincoln who says, if you are single and over 65 and you add one of your children to your free and clear home deed to avoid probate, will you lose the senior citizen discount on your property taxes? Yes. You will. And so that is one of the things about adding those kids. Now, if your children, so when you're in your 80s and your children are in their 60s, as long as they would also qualify for it, you might not lose it. But in general, when you add somebody who is not eligible for that senior citizen discount, you do lose it. The same is also true if you deed your property to a trust. So people can be over the age of 65, trusts cannot. So one of the conversations that I have with people when we talk about creating a revocable trust and deeding their property to the trust is that if that credit will be lost because the trust is an entity. Now, for many people, they're okay with it because what they're saving, what I'm going to say on the back end with probate fees, is worth it to do that. But yes, you do lose that discount if you put your child on. Let's see. I've got, I'm going to hop away for a second and then we'll come back to digital questions and maybe some on the phone. You're listening to 302. I was getting ready to give you the phone number. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray in studio. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go online to industrynewsonline.com. All right, Peter in Laurel. Good afternoon, Julie. I was employed by the U.S. Postal Service. However, I did not receive my last paycheck. Those bad people. I contacted the Delaware Department of Labor, and they indicated to me that normally I would file a wage claim, but since I had been employed by the USPS, they couldn't help me because it's a government entity and that under the Delaware Code, I would not have been considered an employee. Is that true? I found something under Title 19, Chapter 11, subsection 1101 as it defines an employee. Is the Delaware Department of Labor correct? I cannot really find anything that says the USPS is a government entity, more like an independent agency. Help, please. Okay, so I did a little bit of searching on this one myself. And you're right about Title 19 and Section 1101. And it says employee means a person suffered or permitted to work by an employer in this state. This chapter does not apply to any of the following: employees of the United States government, employees of the state of Delaware or any political subdivision, or independent contractors. So that's why now it says employees of the United States government. So then do a little search, and I went to the U.S. Postal Service. Is it considered federal? It's not a federal agency, okay, but it is considered federal government. So I'm wondering if the carve out here is that, and I'm not being sarcastic when I say this, but literally because the name of it is United States Postal Service. I know that a lot of people think that it's an agency. It is not, but I do believe that it is federal employment because they are the United States Postal Service. They don't receive federal benefits, or they do receive federal benefits. They have to follow the federal rules. So it definitely at a minimum is a quasi-government agency, but it is considered federal employment as far as I know. And I think that that is what the Delaware Department of Labor is referring to. What I'm more intrigued by is why the U.S. Postal Service is not giving you your last paycheck, whether there's a temporary hold on it, like what the process is. Have you gotten any kind of written notice where they said why they're holding the last paycheck? Because I think that your remedy is going to be actually going back to the Postal Service about, and trying to push that through. But I do think that the Delaware Department of Labor is correct in what they have said there. All right, going up to another digital question. D in Rehoboth. Heard Laura Trump on the radio encouraging early voting. Is that your suggestion too? I always vote on election day and am concerned that my vote may not be counted if it is registered early. I am assuming that there must be procedures in place to ensure that early votes count, but it makes me uncomfortable as one more loophole for my vote to go awry. Thanks. Great question, Dee. Yes, I am encouraging early voting. And, for those out there that, want to say that it's not constitutional, I, as a lawyer, absolutely agree, but our Supreme Court has basically overturned the Superior Court, and in the state of Delaware, early voting is legal. It is on the table for our primary and for our general election in 2024. Now, I 100% approve of people voting on Election Day. I think that is our civic duty. I think that is, if you want to vote on Election Day, it's totally fine. That said, as a person, as a member of the RNC, and now a state party chair, I have to and should embrace every single way possible for people to vote. So early voting is convenient. It's, you don't have to wait in lines on Election Day. The way that the Delaware Code is set up is that the early voting, and I want to be very clear with everybody, what we're talking about here is early voting in person. Okay, this is different than absentee voting. Absentee voting is also early, but it's in writing. There are different provisions about absentee voting. If you know that you cannot vote in person on Election Day for September 10th for the primary or November 5th for the general, and you can't vote in the early voting period, which begins August 28th, and October, I don't know the date yet, but for right now, for our purposes, August 28th. If you know that in the early voting period, you're not going to go vote in person or can't because of whatever, or on Election Day, request an absentee ballot. Go to ivote.de.gov and request an absentee ballot. Now, the early voting in person, the machines for the early voting period, they are not tabulated at the end of each day. Okay, so the machines are secured each night. At the end of the early voting period, everything is then forwarded to the Department of Elections from the period, and all of it is then tabulated on Election Day, is how the code reads. So I totally get it, where, in terms of being worried that if you vote early, that you cannot, that it may not be tabulated, or, I get it. I understand the conversation, but for me, I'm telling everybody, vote. And if there's any chance that you can't vote on Election Day, vote early. And, there was a big bank your vote, now it's called protect your vote, initiative through the RNC. And basically where I went with that was, we are a very principled party. If I'm on my way to the polling place and cannot, my grandchild or child gets, I get a phone call, I'm going to take care of my family first. So, and I could miss voting. So voting early doesn't put it till the last minute. I'll come back to this. I keep getting hand signals that I have a phone call. I was just trying to finish my thought, but we will go to the phone line. So caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Anne from Lewis.
Hello, Anne. How can I help you?
Fine. I might have to call your office about this, but I have a will and advanced medical and all that, but I need I guess it's a durable power of attorney to handle my financial matters if I am incapacitated. Do you know of anyone who will do this in Delaware?
Who will do a durable power of attorney?
Well, I guess that's what it's called. I don't know. It's somebody who's going to handle, if I have a stroke, who's going to handle my finances.
Okay, but here's my question. Are you asking... Hang on.
And all that.
What I need to understand is, are you asking for somebody who would actually act as your power of attorney, or are you asking if there's someone who can prepare it for you? I want to make sure I understand the question.
No, act.
Okay. Difficult.
I have no family to do that.
Okay. And so no friends, no, relationship with an attorney. You have nobody.
Right. I mean, if attorneys handle it, but I don't know who. That's what I'm asking you.
I understand.
Can I
attorneys can, okay, but it is typically, for an attorney to do that, they typically there's something else in play, like they know the client well. I mean, because basically you need somebody who could get access and step in to, to take care of your affairs. And so, if it's somebody that you don't know, don't normally have access, most of the time, you don't want to be on the hook as that agent if you're not going to be able to carry out those duties. That's a tough one because
Are there any companies that do that? Or,
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, no. Do you have any relationship like with a local church or anything like that?
No, just moved to the area. So,
Okay.
No.
This is a toughie.
I mean, there must be a lot of people out there that don't have children or, that their families have all died off. I mean,
Sure.
I'm 82 years old. I mean, I don't understand. What do these people do? They give it to someone they don't trust, I guess.
Well, okay. So let me, and here's what I will say about the don't trust. There is a way with a power of attorney to limit it so that it's only when you're incapacitated, and you can even limit the powers within the power of attorney. So how long ago did you move to the area?
About 6 months ago.
Okay, so welcome to Delaware, by the way. I'm trying to kind of think through. It's a great question, and it's, and you are actually, I've been doing this for years. The first person to actually call in and say, I have nobody that I can name as an agent. Believe it or not, and so, so what would happen if something happened to you, as you said, you have a stroke or something like that? You said you have a will for healthcare directive. You do not have one of those either. I was writing notes at the beginning.
No, I do have the health care and a will and all that stuff.
Okay, so I'm not being a smart aleck, and I don't need to know who it is, but you've named somebody in that healthcare directive to be your agent. If it's and in your will, you've named somebody to be.
I wouldn't trust them paying my bills.
Okay, well that's there we go.
Because the doctor's going to tell them how bad off I am, I'm sure.
Okay, all right, and then whoever you named as your executor in your will, also not an option? Because that's, it's similar.
I have a trustee as an attorney, but they won't handle that. They won't handle the financial part of it.
There we go. Well, okay. Yeah, that's a stumper. So let me, I got to step away when the music. If you want to hang on, you can. I don't know that I have a better idea, but this is something I'm going to do some digging on. You're listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Hutton from Rehoboth Beach Running Company. We've been in this location for about 8 years, and we've been in business for about 16 years. We're pretty much busy every day, all year round now. Since we've been advertising with the Talk of Delmarva, everywhere we go, people seem to know about us. I like working with other small businesses. We work with a lot of small businesses, and advertising is no different. And we like for people to come in and actually see our store. Yeah. So when people from the Talk of Delmarva have seen our store, they understand it better. Some of their other customers shop at our store, and it's really a small town kind of life. And people shop local, advertise local, listen to the local radio. It all kind of comes full circle. So how has the marketing department helped us? Well, I love that she's always looking ahead at the calendar, because as a small business person, I'm very busy and I'm kind of thinking of last minute things. And so Laura's always ready for the sidewalk sale. She knows it's a big deal for us. And so you want to get the word out a little bit early. And the sidewalk sale this year was better than ever. And I think it's in great part to Laura's planning and the commercials, so people know that the whole town is having a sidewalk sale and that we have big sales at that time of year. I didn't really know what to expect in the beginning, because I didn't know whether she'd know our business. I don't know if she would know runners and all about, but she listens very carefully and she researches and she really tries to gear our ads towards our business, and she does an excellent job. I think people really more now than ever want to shop local. I think people want to support local businesses and help the community. And so when people know that we are a small business that meets their needs, they'd rather shop here than go online or some other way. So I think people really want to help themselves and help the community. We have attracted our ideal customer at the Talk of Delmarva. We service people from, 12 years old or even younger to 95-year-olds. So yeah, I think our ads are doing a great job of bringing customers to us. The Talk of Delmarva advertising has helped with our marathon also. So I organized the Rehoboth Marathon and Half Marathon in December, and we sell out earlier and earlier every year. And I think that's due in part to advertising with the Talk of Delmarva. The people know that we have a running store and that we also have this big race at a great time of year, and people sign up earlier and earlier every year. I really do believe that the return on investment is huge. I think we definitely got return on our investment quickly. Every dollar spent was well worth it. I would highly recommend for other businesses to advertise on the Talk of Delmarva. It's been a great experience for us. It's been very worthwhile, and I would highly recommend it to other businesses.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration. Visit ocwalksmart.com.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray. We are in our last half hour. Phone numbers 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292, or you can go online to industrynewsonline.com and submit digital questions. Ann, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So my husband wrote to me and he goes, sounds like a really good business. Not being sarcastic, he said, sounds like an opening of a company, and I will tell you,
Absolutely.
Well, yes, and I think that for people, there's a couple of different things that are in play here. One is would be power of attorney, and another would be serving as a trustee for either a trust or for a will. As you said, you had somebody as your executor potentially. Is as a company or as a trustee.
Right.
Yeah, I think that, so the issue from an attorney standpoint is even like, I would pick myself just as an example, is that I'm held to, as a duty as a fiduciary, but I'm also held to the duty as a lawyer. So there's a lot of lawyers are, again, without having some sort of personal relationship where they feel like they could carry out those responsibilities, would be hesitant to do that. So I think what I would do is for the time being is, I was going to say roll the dice, and what I mean by, and I'm not being sarcastic at all, the person who would be making your healthcare decisions, I understand that you indicated that this person would not be good about paying bills and stuff, but
I was going to say, people are busy today. They have kids. They don't have time to do anything for themselves. I'm thinking of an accountant, maybe. Maybe
is a good idea, but hear me out on the healthcare person. And that is for two things. One is you can limit it to only be when you're incapacitated. So if you are incapacitated, you're at that, at the point of it, then your bill's getting paid. And yes, it's important, but it is, I think that you're kind of trying to weigh things. you might be overthinking it. And I understand you're trying to be responsible and make sure your bills are getting paid and things like that. But the reality
right,
is,
if I have to go to a nursing home and make sure they didn't spend all the money, and
well, if they spent all the money,
to go.
I understand, but if they spent all of the money, I mean, this is tough. I mean, and so, I mean, I think what you do is, I know you're new to the area, and I'm actually going to do a reach out to an attorney that I know that and trust here in Sussex County, and ask him. He's been doing this a lot longer than I have. What he does in this, because this cannot be a unique scenario. And what I'll do is discuss it next week. And if you don't hear it and you want to call back in next week and say, hey, what'd you find out about it? I have no problem with that. I tell people to do that all the time. And so feel free to call back next week if you don't hear me discuss it and see if I found anything out about it. But let me see what I can find out this week about it, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Ann. Have a great day. Let's go back to those phone lines. Caller, you are on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
It's Father John, Julie.
Hey, Father John, how are you?
I'm in one piece, but a piece I be in.
Good one.
Well, at least I got a chuckle out of it.
You got a chuckle.
Yes, you did. I want to talk a little bit about voting.
Okay.
And I think it's a responsibility that we have. A lot of people don't think so. They think easy come, easy go. But I'd just like to see you vote on voting day. If you can't make it to the polls on voting day, election day, you need to get what do we call it?
An absentee ballot?
Yeah, absentee ballot, right. Because what happened, and I've seen this happen because I've lived in other places in this country, if you can vote early, what happens if that person dies before the election day even? What happens if something happens that you wouldn't vote for that person anymore? This concerns me greatly because it leaves so much more, and when you have it wide open like this, it makes it easier to steal votes.
I hear you and agree with you, and will say that some states, the early voting period is so ridiculously long that your point, and this was true in 2020, there's a lot of people that had already voted for Biden who said that they couldn't undo their vote when they found out stuff that wanted to. So I totally agree. And as a principle, I like voting on election day. There's just the whole thing about it. I mean, I've been a candidate in the last two, so voting on election day was way important. I would say in the Delaware, I find that if there is going to be an early voting period, I don't think that 10 days is out of bounds compared to some of these other jurisdictions that have 30, 45. I mean, those are crazy numbers for early voting. But it is absolutely an obligation that people should take seriously. And but go ahead.
It surely is. The thing is, when I was a senior in high school, many moons ago, we had this course we took was called POD, Problems of Democracy. And we were taught that voting is a responsibility. It's a privilege, yes, but it's a responsibility if we want to keep a good government. And it makes me mad when people just throw their vote away. Well, I'm voting this way because my daddy was a Democrat or my mother was a Democrat or a Republican. It doesn't make any sense. Don't you know what's going on under your very feet?
Well, the sad thing there is people don't, and you and I both know that. The low information voter is our biggest threat. Seriously.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, so the responsibility of us, and people who are, like Jake takes this very seriously on his show. I know, Mike, MJ, I mean, just, we have to be talking about this, trying to educate people. My parting comment on this about voting early or voting absentee, about absentee voting specifically, is that for people who are concerned, so with absentee voting, if you vote and it is, you can track it on ivote.de.gov. If you vote by absentee, you can see when the ballot's sent, when it's received back at the at Department of Elections. One of the other alternatives is to request an absentee ballot, okay, and then show up in person. You can vote in person. For people who are concerned that, and I'm going to use the word that their votes are getting stolen, if you want to secure your vote and know that your vote was cast by you, if you request an absentee ballot, hold it, don't send it back, and show up on election day, and they say you've already voted and you're holding your ballot, you now have there is a legitimate, like, there's something that is measurable that we can do something about. So this is, I mean, in the next 80 days, 79 days, we as the party are going to start pushing out some of these ideas, trying to get people to, to think outside the box a little bit on this, but most importantly, engage. Make sure you vote. I don't want people staying home this year saying, oh, my vote's not going to count. I don't want to hear it. I don't buy it. You absolutely have to vote. So I very much appreciate the call, Father John.
Yeah, well, it's good, but keep up the faith, my dear. You're doing good. God bless you.
Thank you. I will keep plugging. That's my plan. And then the other thing I want people to do is, well, here, I'll take this phone call, and then I've got a couple other things. So, caller, what's your name and where are you calling from? You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air. What's your name?
Hello. Oh, yes. Excuse me. Jumbo from Maryland. First of all, I agree with you 100%. Voting day is when you should vote. Everybody should know that I come that night. No doubt about it. Second of all, I know you not really hit on this a lot. I was thinking about some of these, the low information voter. You were just mentioning that, I believe.
Yep.
Well, I kind of blame a lot of these conservative shows. I'm going to blame this one, too, to a certain extent. You never hear conservative shows pulling out, like, say, President Trump's former the policies he put in place. And I'll be honest with you, he doesn't do it a lot either. And just like, here's how I think a conservative show should start out. I'm hypothetically today. They should say, this is day 1,243 of the Keystone Pipeline being closed. Nobody ever does it. And to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of the people in this, if Ron DeSantis and Trump was necking that, the RNC would be pulling for Ron DeSantis, no doubt.
I would have agreed with you on that up until March 8th. But I can tell you because I've seen it happen. Once Ronna McDaniel resigned and Michael Whatley took over, the RNC and Trump, literally they merged. The Trump campaign is now working at the RNC. So prior to March 8th, I would have totally agreed with you. And I also agree with you about, all right, so did you see this week, President Trump, did you see the thing about the Tic Tacs? Have you seen that? Did I lose you? Oh, okay. All right. So real quick, I'll tell this story and then I'll step away. Earlier this week, President Trump was speaking in Asheville, North Carolina, and you know how he is, and he reaches in his pocket and he's like, yeah, I got it here somewhere, and everybody's kind of going, what's he getting ready to pull out of his pocket? And he pulls out a pack of Tic Tacs. And he says, so here's a pack of Tic Tacs. I don't know the company. I don't, and this has now turned into the greatest commercial ever for Tic Tacs. And then he goes into his other pocket and he pulls out a little tiny, like a mini thing of Tic Tacs. And he holds them both up and he says, this is inflation. And they have actually taken the clip from that, pushed it out on social media. It's got millions and millions of views. And it's because it's one of those visual things. And, for people who are like, well, I don't understand. What does it mean? That's inflation. Okay, well, what you used to be able to buy, that full-size Tic Tacs, now when you buy the little-size Tic Tacs, that's all you're getting. So I understand John's point and agree that we need to figure out Communication is a two-way street, and we have to figure out how to get to those low information voters and give them the visual or what it is that they can actually understand. I am aware that I need to step away for a break. Thank you for the hand signal. You are listening to 92.7 and 98.5, and that is the Talk of Delmarva.
I'm Tom Holmes, 1776 Steakhouse in Rehoboth Beach. The restaurant's been here since 1987. I've had it since 2007. I get probably 2-3 customers a night that will come in and say, I heard you on the radio and it sounded great and we're so happy that you're advertising locally with local businesses. I used to do very limited advertising, just a little bit on newspapers and billboards and stuff like that, but now I'm pretty much exclusively just with the radio station. I advertise on Rehoboth Foodie Bob's show, and I also advertise different segments and different times during the course of the week. I've been pretty much with the same schedule for maybe about 10 years. I'm just happy I am advertising with them. They've been very loyal to us, and the feedback I get from my customers about the radio station is tremendous.
I'm Keith Pettit, an assistant manager here at Southern States Milford Cooperative in Milford, Delaware. My experience with WGMD radio station, Talk of Delmarva, has been outstanding. We do our once monthly radio show here in our showroom, and we instantly see results of people coming in that day and the following day and the weeks after saying, I heard about this on WGMD, the Talk of Delmarva. And not just at a close local level within a few miles, but it brings customers in from a fair distance to come and check out the products that we've talked about through the radio station advertising. But in my estimation, WGMD is the best talk radio station on Delmarva. People are in tune to hanging on every word that that station says, and that transfers to the advertisers. The people that listen to WGMD listen to our advertisements word for word, and they know what they're looking for when they come in here as a result. I just think they're phenomenal. They do a great job.
My name is Karen. My husband and I own Captain's Pizza. We have been here for over 6 years, going on 7. We only advertise with WGMD, and we love it. They really help us with anything that we need. They always have good suggestions. They help me with the commercials. Advertising has helped our business tremendously. We do get a lot of people that come in and want to know who is talking on the radio, and I'm always here, so I'm always happy to say that it's me. We participate with Delmarva Dollars. A lot of customers bring them in. We have customers that ask when they're going to have them again if they don't hear it on the radio. We tried advertising in the newspaper and things like that, but we see more of a showing with the Delmarva Dollars. And the customers, they ask me, where else do we advertise? And I tell them, we only advertise with WGMD. We've been very successful with them. We get exactly what we ask for, and it's well worth the money that we invest in it.
Since 1980, WGMD Radio has been your local hometown station with everything from music to news to sports. We know a thing or two about community and longevity. The Talk of Delmarva is proud to be partnered with the White Marlin Open and congratulates them on 50 years.
Welcome back to Tipping the Scales of Justice. Julianne Murray. We've got 9 minutes to go. If you want to call in, I do not have anybody on the phone board right now. 302-945-9292 or 800-518-9292. You can also go to industrynewsonline.com and submit electronic questions or comments. So in that, I want somebody named with the initial J from Dover said, the person not receiving his last paycheck from the USPS should first ask his local office. Some terminal paychecks are in the form of paper checks rather than direct deposit. The individual can also contact USPS Accounting Help Desk I got a phone number here, so I think it was Peter, I think was the question. 866-974-2733, Monday through Friday, 7 to 7 Central Standard Time. That is seriously detailed, but great information. So, Peter, you can contact your local postal office or the USPS accounting help. It may be that it was a paper check versus direct deposit or something like that. Okay, one more thing on voting, and then I'm actually going to shift back to a legal topic just to kind of close things out if I don't have any other phone calls. And that is talking about voting and getting out the vote and things like that. We, the Delaware Republican Party, have an app. And you can, at the App Store, you can put in Delaware GOP and it will come up. If with Android, you have to put Delaware Republican Party, but I need you to download the app. Why do we have this app? Because it's going to allow us to do push notifications. Doesn't cost anything. We can do push notifications, and then you can actually go to, on Election Day, you're going to be able to do you can do text messages to your contacts if you want to. It's going to be very important for Get Out the Vote. So right now what I need you to do, App Store or Android, whatever, the Google Play, download the Delaware Republican Party app. Let's go to the phone lines. It looks like I got two of them. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Jill from Georgetown.
How are you, Jill?
I'm fine. How are you?
Great. How can I help you?
I wanted to respond to one call that you have and then ask you a question. The phone call from the lady whose area was being subdivided against the owner's will.
Yes.
I had the same situation once, went to planning and zoning. They told me the state doesn't get involved in that. It's a civil suit.
Okay.
It's a civil thing, and that the neighbors would have to take care of it if they were so inclined.
Was it, and just to be clear, when you did that and was it an actual deed restriction where you were told that?
Yes,
Okay.
It was.
Okay.
It was recorded. There were like nine homes in that area. They all had the same deed restriction that they had to remain a certain size. Piece of ground could not be subdivided. However, the person with whom I spoke at planning and zoning told me that is not something that they get involved in. They don't get involved in deed restrictions or neighbor disputes, and that it was a civil matter.
And was that here in Delaware?
Yes, it was Sussex County.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. So I will.
No, I don't know. That was the person with whom I spoke at that time. I'm sure other planning and zoning people might have a different opinion. But then my question is, I'm sorry, I missed the first 11 minutes of your show, and I don't know whether you responded to the question last week about the cost basis from when a second family member is added to a deed.
I did not.
It goes all the way.
Yep. So I'm glad you called. And yep. No. And so this is it has to do with, and it was a very long and involved answer from it isn't everything that has to do with taxes. It is, and the long and the short of it is that it depends on what the relationship is. So parent to child, and the scenario I had last week was sisters. Correct. I believe, and whether a life estate is reserved. Because so if a life estate is reserved, it's not considered a completed gift, and the basis would then reset to the date of death. Okay, so it is possible to add a joint tenant with right of survivorship, and the tenant could get the reset basis. It is possible.
And you said, I was not familiar with the term that you asked if it was available. Life
estate.
I don't know that term.
Okay, well, somebody who prepares a deed will, though. And so what a life estate is basically, it is saying, so if you are deeding your property, you're keeping your name on it, and you're going to deed the other, another share of it to somebody else, and you reserve a life estate, what that means is you reserve the right in the deed to continue to live there for the rest of your life.
Oh, right. Okay, I understand.
It's a protection for you so that, although the joint tenant wouldn't be able to sell it out from underneath you anyway, it would require both signatures, which actually, it was interesting. Right before that call last week, there was another one from somebody else talking about, can a joint tenant sell their share? And I said, definitely consult with a lawyer. What I didn't say out loud that's very important is you can't do it without the consent of the other joint tenant. So unlike tenants in common, where you have people can you own your share kind of outright and can sell it and do whatever you want with it. With joint tenants, there is everybody has to kind of be everybody has to be in agreement and sign off on things. But it is possible to maintain or to get that step up in basis. Yes.
So we would fill out our wills as joint tenants.
It's not your wills. It's actually your deeds.
Your deeds as joint tenants.
Yeah, joint tenant with right of survivorship.
Okay. But she could sell it if she wanted to.
Yep. But if she sells it, you have to. All right. So it's if there's two people on there. Hang on. If you go to sell, both people have to sign. If somebody dies, then the second, the sole survivor has all of it and can sell and do whatever they want with it.
And does there have to be another property settlement to add my sister's name to the deed?
No.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I would still, if I were you, I would contact an attorney to do the deed preparation. You can do it online, but it just, you don't have to, but it's, you're deeding your property. And I understand you're both talking about adding each other to it. And there should not be, I do not think there's going to be transfer tax for doing it either because you're related.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julianne.
All right. Thanks, Jill. Have a great day.
Take care.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Okay, one more. I've got one more caller, and caller, you're on the air. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Phil from Laurel. I heard Mr. Collins on the radio show the other day talk about the mandates, like the electric car mandates, and that we would have to
legislatively
to challenge them.
Yes.
How would they go about doing that? Is there any way citizens could petition their politicians to do something about these mandates?
Yes and no.
To challenge them?
Yeah. So what happens is there's the legislation, and if I run out of time, I'm sorry. I got 50 seconds, I think. What he's talking about here is replacing the very progressive, far left members of the General Assembly with people who are more reasonable, and then legislatively creating a bar in the future from the governor basically going to an agency and saying, hey, do this. It's going to act like law, even though it's not law. So I will, if I have time, I'll talk about some more of this next week. You can call me back and I can get you some more details. 92.7, 98.5, and that is the talk of Delmarva.
WGMD Rehoboth Beach.